Great. Welcome, everybody. Happy Kwaai Day. Gosh, the 28th Kwaai meeting. Thanks so much for attending. We've got a great participation this morning. Look, this week has been really, really busy. In fact, my comments to most people when I reach out to them on LinkedIn, I say, since retiring, and I'm a retiree now, since retiring from Real Networks, I haven't been busier. This is amazing. So I've poured all my energy, and I thank all of you for pouring in all your energy into this important mission that we feel passionate about. We started off the week where the IRS contacted us and said they have determined that we can be a charity. We have now got our 501c3 determination letter. And, you know, that normally takes about 6 to 8 months. We got it done in a record time, in less than a month. So that's a fantastic outcome. I want to give a shout out to our pro bono attorneys, Wiley. At least they did this one task for pro bono. You know, I'm looking forward to more progress. So that's a great move forward. The other thing is, look, we're a charity, and but we are going to go out for funding. So we've made some progress on the Kwaai pitch deck. I set a deadline at the end of this week for the officers to make their inputs to it. After that, we're going to broaden it to a smaller audience to make their comments. But the goal for us is by the end of the month, and preferably before then, to be able to have all of our pitch material to go out for a funding round. So my history for funding has been for-profit startups. So this is very different. It's funding a nonprofit, and so I'll be looking for all the guidance we can get from the organization to move forward. We've made tremendous progress on Scale. Scale is the largest Linux developer conference. There we go, and that is where our summit is going to be co-hosted. So now, if you go to the Scale website, you'll see in the pull down of the co-located events, it'll be the Kwaai Summit, and they link directly to our page. We are building out that agenda at the moment, but this week we've got a couple of really interesting additions to the agenda. I love the fact that the membership is undergoing a great uptick. You know, we were clocking at sort of 1 member a day joining, and that's a great rate. You know, onboarding a single member a day is great. We're seeing it actually increasing that level. So we've gone through, I think, 170, and we're going to be hearing from the new member voices at the end of this call. We've made progress on the work groups. We'll hear more about that, about personal AI, about policy, and about fundamentals. In all of this, we also, you know, this is an organization that's a volunteer organization. People are devoting parts of their spare time. Everyone's got day jobs. And so we need to create structures where we don't have what I call Groundhog Day meetings. There's got to be ways in which you can come in, contribute for a bit, and then move on, and the project moves forward. And some of our work groups are developing that sort of muscle memory of how to move the organization, how to move their projects forward. And I want to give a shout out to a couple of them, but let's get that update when we get the work groups update. And then the other major thing is we are launching the EMEA chapter. So Europe, Middle East, and Africa. That time zone deserves a chapter of its own, because a lot of people that joined right at the beginning are straining, you know, they're staying up late at night to join this call. And really, our ambition is to globalize the organization. So Christian, thank you so much for stepping up to head the EMEA chapter. We'll hear more about that perhaps later on in the agenda. Matt, I don't want to take up too much more time. Why don't I hand back for you to MC us back onto the agenda? Thanks.
No, that was perfect, Riza. Thank you. Phenomenal updates. Just a few more operationally. February, we are looking to have a board meeting. The board needs to come together, collecting a lot of the feedback that we got in the survey, a lot of the discussions that we've had in the channels. Still really interesting discussions being had in those channels about our open source software license choice. Karsten Wade, big shout out to him again for all of the insight and information and legal and cultural considerations to really help us make this choice. The board will be meeting on that before scale. The goal is to have that decision made so we can get some code out into the open source wild. And once we excite all the developers at scale, we'll have a lot of contributors be able to pull some issues off and get started on things. The EMEA chapter, as Riza mentioned, thank you, Christian. Really appreciate your introduction last week as well. We are making a little half step forward on that over the week. Please join the EMEA chapter Slack channel if you're in that region. I realize that we didn't collect folks' location on our registration form, so I don't have a clear picture of who's where. I will try to try to invite folks that I know into that channel, but please do join in. Please do gather your friends. Now is the time to go forward and start evangelizing us in that region as well. So Christian is going to be organizing a work group at EMEA Friendly Hours. Again, this is really about kind of going out, organizing and evangelizing. So really looking forward to more updates there. One really great piece of feedback that we got from the survey on some of our communications has been this idea of the developer hackathon that immediately follows this, that everyone gets invited to. That's another open meeting in addition to the work group meetings. A reminder, if you want to be in a work group meeting, please join that work group channel, get on the invite. We don't send those out to everybody. The Kwaai the hackathon tends to become a really interesting forum for the technical folks to get together and geek out a bit more on what was presented during these weekly public meetings. And, this can extend to a lot of our other work group areas as well. There's certainly a lot that's presented here. So the idea that we're going to switch to is really hosting a general Kwaai Day breakout session at 11 a.m. Every Kwaai Day. And this will actually be an invite that can include a few different work group streams, channels that you have an option to join. So if you're more interested on the policy side, get together, talk with the AI policy wonks. If you're more interested in deep neural network components, there'll be a fundamentals group that can get together and talk through that. But this can just extend this to others. These topics are not, there's no agenda defined for these meetings. This is really more open, more opportunity for open collaboration and discussion. And then on that final note here, we talked about the scale. I wanted to thank folks that filled out the official member survey. We had a 26% response rate. Did not get the chance to get through all and synthesize all of this. There's no machine learning sentiment analysis. I'm doing that my human learning self. So I will definitely read through all these comments. I wanted to call out some really cool, really interesting statements. There was on our Kwaai messaging, there was a real ask of, hey, what's the why for Kwaai? What's the Kwaai? So would love to hear more in the Kwaai messaging channel of what your thoughts are on that. Self-sovereign identity versus local. People were kind of debating what term might be more useful there as we talk about how to authenticate a personal AI assistant to your identity. There was some thoughts on, some of our messaging around knowledge workers is rather limiting given the transformation of AI everywhere. And there were these other two comments, really were interesting. The OS of the future is going to be nothing like Linux. And we're often talking about building the Linux personal AI, but, it's a really astute comment of, maybe we take a step back from that and reimagine what the operating system is. And if you're curious in that conversation, Thursday's work group call is the call for you. And then finally, I really love this comment of, in that messaging, there was, hey, showing up as your best self and being augmented by intelligence. And there was one comment in there of like, hey, you don't need a machine to show up as your best self. And I just thought that was a good human reminder in all of this, that, you know, we don't all need to be machine augmented in order to, you know, be our best self. And, you know, just a good thought to end on here. So again, thank you for filling out the survey. We will present a bit more on this next week as we've synthesized more of the data, as we've collected more of the feedback on the licensing poll. And I will also transition anybody who's RSVP'd for the summit over to the official RSVP list. So thank you for doing that too. Great. So we can move on. We have a lot of work group updates today, and I wanted to lead this off with a request to the AI and Life Sciences work group. This is kind of a super work group here at Kwaai. They're looking at a lot of things in order to help build a PI ability, an application in the healthcare and life sciences realm. So I think we've got some folks on. I know Afshin is here, as well as the board sponsor, Kai. Hello. Would anybody like to jump in and give a quick update on the meetings this week?
Yeah, I could jump in. Others can jump in too. Yeah, I mean, Diego's the one who runs it, but I don't think here today because he's starting his vacation, his well-deserved vacation for himself. But yeah, so I mean, the whole group was initiated because we want to try to develop a Kwaai health app, and you know, and first the question that Diego had is how well does the current AI tools like ChatGPT would let's say diagnose, or would we be able to predict, let's say, side effects from drugs? That was a simple question. And from there, you know, he's been running some research on it and running some tests, and he's showing, okay, and depending on how you enter it, you could get yes or a no result, or equally opposite results depending on how well you moderate the temperature, you know, in the chat GPT, and how well you play with it. So, you know, overall it's good because no one's really done a comprehensive exam to look at how well does this these current tools out there be able to help, you know, people, inform them of some decisions they might be using it for, and also help us develop a tool that could overcome the gaps that are there. So we're going to probably try to write a paper on this and get it out in some scientific journal, and then you know, obviously this is going to help our assistance for our healthcare app. I mean, I'm oversimplifying everything that Diego has done, but in the simplistic, and then the whole goal is also, the eventual thing is, you know, how can we, as Riza said and other people said in the past, is how can we use how can Kwaai have a, you know, app that is able to create a more efficient interaction between the clinician and the patient. So, and the patient's going to have all their health cares in their own, you know, pie that they're going to have on there, and then eventually how can that be used to help them, help the clinician get the right ideas and treatment for that. But we discuss a lot more during these meetings, but as Matt knows, he's there.
That's fascinating, and you really bring up and highlight a good point there, Afshin. You know, personal AI, you know, can be a personal assistant for the patient. It can also be a personal assistant for the doctor. And what's really fascinating in this group is we've got a couple MDs that show up on a regular basis to provide their perspective and opinions on this. So, you know, really appreciate the leadership and the coordination from Diego as well here. That work group meeting is on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific. If you're interested in that topic, definitely join the AI for Life Sciences channel and get on that work group meeting.
And one thing to plug is Diego. There's people like Roman and other people starting to help him, but Diego's only one person. He needs help. So the more people that help him, coders, are, you know, to do the research, the better.
Please join us on this group.
Because Roman's starting to do it, and Roman has 20 different projects he's working on too. So they both need help.
Yeah, thank you for jumping in, getting involved. There's some fun stuff happening in that group. There are llama files being passed around for testing llama for this, you know, same purpose. There's some interesting innovation happening there. So whether you're deep involved on the tech side, like Raman, or whether you're very interested in kind of the policy or enablement side, like Pinar and other folks that attend that call, please join us.
Yeah, a brief comment there. It's interesting, the parallel learnings that's going on in the personal AI the sort of communications assistant channel or work group, and the life sciences work group. So what I think both groups have learned is that the vanilla ChatGPT is really bad at answering the questions. ChatGPT is a really awful doctor. Don't go to ChatGPT to get a diagnosis. Similarly, we've built a personal communications assistant powered by a large language model. The vanilla, untrained, unrefined model is really bad at answering your emails. However, it's our thesis that if you refine it and retune it on your own personal private data, let's say your email inbox, or all your LinkedIn communications, or all your SMS communications, you're going to get a better communications assistant that knows how to answer emails in your own voice. Similarly, on the healthcare side, if the narrow question that Diego's trying to answer is what this drug that I've been prescribed, what interactions, what allergies or adverse reactions could I suffer? That we're hoping that if we take a vanilla large language model, retune it on scientific papers in the domain of drug interactions, that we end up with a smarter model. So this is all the sort of learning. There's sort of a parallel there, and I think the one team can leverage the work of the other. Okay, back to you, Matt.
No, fantastic, and back to you, Riza. You're on the docket for the fundamentals focus. If you just spend a little bit of time sharing about the updates from the fundamentals group and what you're focused in on for that work group, I think that'd be helpful for everyone.
Yeah, and so the fundamentals group is actually where I started thinking about Kwaai. Even when I was at Real Networks, I heard about Jeff Hinton's departure from Google. I think everybody did. And he said he was going off to explore AI fundamentals, deeper neural network or alternates to the existing neural network thinking. And that just planted a seed in my head that wouldn't it be great if that work was not in a private domain, if there was a collaborative lab. So I was thinking of AI as Kwaai as a collaborative lab where we would ponder and research into alternates to this. Kwaai actually grew into the broader sort of social movement and pursuing a civic activism, as well as being this sort of research lab. In fact, the research lab part of it was the smaller part of it. It turns out that probably 80% of what we're doing in our work groups is focused towards personal AI. It's my thesis that it's the very inefficiencies of the existing AI that preserves the what I call the moat around the few companies that control AI. They don't really have the incentives to get us off GPUs and find more efficient ways. The way that monopolies are maintained is through controlling scarcity. If you look at many other economies or ecosystems, it's controlling scarcity that's important. So now there's a scarcity of GPUs and so on. So look, the work in AI fundamentals, if we make a breakthrough and we come up with a neural network framework that is easier to compute, and we think we can get an order of magnitude reduction in computation, then that serves the purpose of democratizing AI, because it means it's more accessible. It means that you'll be able to run it locally. It's our thesis that the current so let me rather than giving you the entire contents of the work group, the fundamentals work group has really got three things we're pursuing. One is causal neural networks. The other is neural networks that are alternates to the perceptron, which is the basic compute component in the neural networks, and neural networks that are based on physics, so physics inspired neural networks. This is deep, hardcore stuff. However, it's worth, even if you're not an AI scientist, it's worth participating, because you're actually engaging in critical thinking and not simply accepting the path the industry's on at the moment. I think it's important for an organization for us to keep that critical thinking element going. So we've made some progress in the area of modeling a neural network as a fluid. Not going to go into it in this public call, but come and join the Fundamentals AI work group. You'll see that, and we'll have a bit of a demo at the Scale conference that shows how it works, and that should spur some conversation. So back to you, Matt.
No, fantastic, Riza. Thank you for that summary, and I really appreciated the link back to all of this deep research to help fill in that moat and make this more accessible for everyone. The more devices, the more populations, the more communities, the more geographies we can get a personal AI into, the broader the tide can raise the boats. Wonderful. Policy group. Do we have Marcus here? Or I see Lasani is on, and I see Ruth is on. Would love to hear some updates from the policy group today on progress.
Yeah, I could just give a brief highlight of our meeting yesterday. So yesterday we spent the majority of our time reviewing a future state contract, employer contract, where current state, an employer will highlight an employee is not allowed to take proprietary information, they're going to be signing an NDA, etc. But how will that apply to an AI assistant? Especially if that if that employee is bringing in their own AI assistant, like how is that employer going to treat the AI assistant? So right now we're just in the process of further reviewing that document. I had an opportunity to speak to one of my friends who's at Georgetown Law, just giving her a brief highlight of what we're doing. So she's starting to wrap her mind around that. And then we also spent some time reviewing some of the other branches of the policy, especially the outlines, such as the nutritional facts for AI. So pretty much we're in review mode right now, but we are making progress.
Lasani, the thing that we were debating on the policy work group, and shout out to Marcus Hallside for creating the sort of the starting document. In fact, Sushil created starting documents. Marcus took it a step further, at least in the employment contract. We're experiencing this on this very call. People have joined the call, and their otters and their note takers have come and joined the call. Who owns those notes? And then should the employee leave, where do those notes go? In the existing contract law, in the existing employment contract law, it's quite clear. But it's muddied. It's muddied if you think of you're bringing tools of the trade to your job. Who owns the tools of the trade once you leave? Carsten, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So I just want to put a note in here, and I'll follow up on this more later. But at Red Hat, our employment contract included specifically that we retained our own rights to the projects that we worked on outside of our work assignments if they were open source. And broadly across the industry, people are moving. They basically carry many of the elements of their work in an open source project along with them to a new employer. Things not more than just personal brand, but it's also like all of the work that's done in the open. The bottom line is it's almost like it doesn't matter who owns the copyright if it's put under a license that allows you to carry forward and use it when you get to your new place or your new wherever you are. So I think there might be some information, or it might be informative, or give us a hint about where the legal direction can go. And like I said, I'll follow up on Slack with some some examples. I think I can dig up my old employment contract and
Yeah,
the clock.
Carsten, as obviously in this domain, obviously rather than us reinventing the wheel, to leverage areas where there's precedent would be super helpful. So thanks so much if you can share that with us, and then come and join the call. I think it's weekly on Thursday, and we can move that project forward. Okay, thanks very much.
Fantastic and great perspective, Karsten. I love how this happens on this Kwaai Day call. Folks being able to jump in and say, "Oh, I've got an idea around that," and jumping on those work groups thereafter. This is exactly how it's all supposed to work here. I love it. Before we get to the engineering update, Karsten, I just want to ask if you want to take a quick few minutes here. I totally forgot to call on you earlier. Big thanks to Karsten for helping us organize at scale and the Kwaai Summit. Karsten, anything to add?
Yeah, so I want to one quick minute here. The Southern California Linux Expo, or Scale, is going into its 21st year, I think, here, and it's a fantastic event with that has it's probably the most diverse event that you go to in terms of every vector of humanity that you can imagine. I mean, talking to 12-year-old Python programmers is like a regular experience for me on the expo floor, and so what I wanted to say about organizing is I put forth the offer to I mean, I'm basically offering here right now to kind of to help centralize the planning around getting this done. There's it's a little project managey, but mostly it's just trying to get us all together and keep us all aligned, because we're talking about a group collaborative effort to make this thing happen, and knowing what somebody else is doing in their timing and planning just helps all of us. And then when we're there, we can also speak a little bit and say, "Oh, I know about this other thing that's happening, and because you were part of the planning, didn't heard about it," right? So in order to put that together and make it work, I really need participation from all the people who are going to be attending and participating remotely, and otherwise have some role in making something happen for the event. With timing especially short, I think we really do need a weekly call where we can get everybody together. Like 30 minutes is possible. We can do everything in 30 minutes, I think, if we can keep it aligned. I'm basically going to put together a presentation slide deck and have every piece of information on there we know, like the expo floor, what the booth plan is going to be, what's happening on the schedule on Kwaai Day, like every detail in there, and then everybody gets to come and just give a quick status of what's going on with it, get things unblocked and so forth. So just sort of standard moving things forward process, but it does really, because this isn't a thing where I can delegate to other people. We're an open project and it's stepping forward to do things. So being present for those conversations helps us make sure we have a chance to step forward, and we can do what we can. We'll record things, and we'll make sure that decisions get a nice 24-hour, 48-hour cycle, so people can read about them and come back. You can listen to the recordings and then come back with answers and suggestions afterwards. So that's the summary, and otherwise we'll pick it up on Slack from here, I think. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Karsten. This is really important.
Yep, very very important. Jordan, slight misspelling there, but thank you for posting the summit channel in the chat there. Please come and join us. Jordan, thank you also. Shout out to you as well for your coordination and participation and assistance in getting this all set up. Please join us in the Kwaai Summit channel. Please, if you haven't, go to the Kwaai Summit webpage here and RSVP. I've got that on one of these tabs. And RSVP. We will continue to fill in the agenda here, as well as make sure that you're registering for Scale. If you register, use the Kwaai discount code, and you'll also get 50% off. Kwaai will have a booth at Scale as well. Another key element of this summit planning is that we'll need to get all the booth stuff. We don't have any of it. So there's a lot to do, and we'll get a summit work group going. Thank you, Karsten. Cool. Let's move to the engineering update. There's a lot to update here. I wanted to pass it over to Roman first. Roman has some updates on some diagrams here that he's going to walk us through.
Hello, happy Kwaai Day to everyone. I would like to start this update with a call to action. Please join us in all the engineering work groups. We are here discussing very interesting things. There very constructive meetings, and a lot of learning is happening there to build the future of what we dream for. So basically, talking about the dream, here's the initial high-level architecture that was dreamed about Kwaai, about the personal assistant. And we have drilled down this to a very applied diagram that shows us all the relevant things to be built over the future. At first,
Sorry. Let me know when you want me to advance. Sorry about that.
yeah, thank you, Matt. Don't worry. I would like to give a quick tour about all this dream. First, starting of what is now called the operating system. We are on the workgroups discussing if it or not be called operating system. Right now it's called right there, but this will be the enabler to all the magic to happen. Here we have our models. Here we'll have our personal data space. Here's where all the orchestration is going to be happen. And it's also empowered by two main things. One is the Pi network, that discussion over the sovereignty and identity-based are also big topics to be found on our work groups, and also the training of the personal assistant. Our computer is no longer just the personal device, it's a network, and we are widely opening this concept for our personal assistant. And the training, it's what will give it the flavor, what will make the essence of be a part of us or acting on behalf of us, that it's going to be an awesome thing to add to this. Supported with collaboration, and we see collaboration through abilities and a development environment that where all can build the useful things that the operating system can extend for a developer community to create their no-code, their natural language processing orchestration, new abilities to the Pi, and also be offered widely. We want with this concept a main adoption in order to build on top of the cool things we created. So this is taking an exciting route. I'm very excited to be presenting this, and very grateful with the officers of Kwaai for letting me share this vision and to put it down to ground. Now you can advance, Matt, please. We've been discussing this initial work in progress architecture. This is the second iteration of it, very enriched by all the discussions happening in our work group. And I don't want to enter in too many details. You can later join our work group and explore it further. But in a high level, we have separated three main pieces of architecture. One is the top left one that shows us all the interactions we talk about. An IoT layer to manage the abilities, wearables, a cloud space where we can manage software as a service and another AI services, and also a software development kit, a no-code editor, and a developer space, all to interact with our sovereignty and trust layer. Here we are imagining a very robust layer that can authenticate and protect our space, because this is going to be a very, very attractive things to not really good people. So we're putting very good thoughts on this sovereignty and trust layer. All the contributions are welcome. Right now, with what we have put to ground is an access, identity, and services layer that will orchestrate the access to where the magic is happening, and also what we call an experience layer. The experience layer is going to contain what right now it's user experience, but we want that to be enriched with voice, video, text, and a control panel to govern all that. And then the magic piece, an event handler that cultivates all the census layers and enrich with RAG, synthesis, data to knowledge, and personalization. All going to be stored on a personal data space with data service to interact with other services, and an import-export framework to comply with GDPR and to comply if they don't want another service to be stuck on space. We want to provide a mechanism to import and export. So this is what we have envisioned until today. Then again, join us on the group to enrich this even further. And I'm very, very excited to be presenting this right now.
You're drawing a lot of very excited responses. You literally got a standing ovation during that presentation there. Thank you, Mark, for that. Fantastic. Roman, really appreciate you running this to ground, taking a lot of pie in the sky ideas, and really blocking them out. And this type of organizing and your leadership and just stepping up and doing it, as a volunteer advisor has just been so amazing to see. So thank you. Lynn Hardy, speaking of people who've stepped up to lead and taken action, Lynn, I wonder if you could also take us through some of your product management 101 and Pi user stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to share on your screen?
Sure, I'll move that over for you.
Great. Yeah, first of all, it's going to be hard to follow Ramon. That was an excellent presentation. And I just really appreciate the opportunity to be an active participant in this effort. So one thing that I felt like I could bring to the table was some clarification around some of those boxes that we saw in the last grid. We've got a lot of different user types. We've got and in this document down in the tabs, you can see we've got actors. So I've been starting to develop a list of different actors who each one of these types of users of Pi, everyone from a developer to a novice user to an experienced user, would have different desires around what they envision Pi to be. So in the general tab, I started putting together some basic user stories using the actors. It's an ongoing list because every time I'm part of a discussion, I discover a new actor. And then the features that you might want. So I want certain features so that I can benefit from that. And it's, going back to product 101. And then eventually we'll get organized and be able to identify the phases based on a roadmap. So we can start setting expectations around when to expect what sort of feature. But this just captures everybody's vision, and it helps put us on the same page, and helps to also set expectations going forward.
Awesome. So great. Thank you, Lynn. Really appreciate your thoughts here. Really appreciate us just kind of helping us get back to basics on that, and putting us down on paper, or virtual paper, as it were. Thank you so much. Please join us in the Pi Architecture Work Group channel. This is where the vision conversations are happening. Thursdays at 10 a.m. Is the Pi operating system and the vision call. So collecting feedback on what types of user experiences folks are looking for, broadening our perspectives of who those users and actors are, as well as then determining, okay, what's the back-end details needed in order to deliver those types of experiences fundamentally. So as we're organizing on this, please join the Thursday call for those big visions. And then please also join us on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. for any specific projects that spin off of that. Right now, for example, is the communications assistant and getting that demo nailed down for scale. A lot of this is it's definitely overlapping right now. Riza has said before, it's like building the Office suite at the same time as Windows, and sometimes you have to do both in order to really understand users better. But that shouldn't be, our myopic vision of it either. And so Lynn's work here to help us broaden our perspective on this and serve more users is really welcomed. We have a good amount of time here to get to the tool engineering update from Cyan, and then hit member voices. I'm just going to do a quick preview of member voices before we do that, so I don't catch anyone off guard. We have a lot of new attendees today. We want to hear from you first. Please raise your virtual hand and introduce yourself to the group. We'll try to certainly call on folks that haven't had an opportunity to introduce themselves and share before. And if you don't raise your hand, I might call on you. So just a fair warning. Cyan, why don't you take us through the engineering update?
Sure. Thank you, Matt. Today, the progress that we were able to make is most likely on fine-tuning the rack implementation and cleaning up a little bit the bugs that we had from the earlier phase. So Balaji and Jesus are currently working on implementing the LLM. We're running Llama 7 billion parameters model, and they were able to make it work on any machine, basically. Instead of using CPU, instead of using GPU, we're using CPU. So it is now able to work in a MacBook Pro. So that's pretty cool. Also, most of the team is working on implementing the retrieval augmented generation. We have two examples. One of them is with one framework and the other one with another framework. So Abdul Rabban is helping us with that. And also Roy has some progress on these frameworks. So we're going to be testing next week which one is the best option for us and implement it with the rest of the current work that we have so we can finalize the whole cycle, and we are able to do some more testing and see how it works for the presentation, for the scale presentation. And that's pretty much it for the progress that we've made this week.
Pretty much it. Wow. That's quite a progress update, Cyan. Thank you.
And I just want to give a shout out. Cyan is from Arcus Nexus. Yeah. We've got about a half a dozen contributors from Arcus Nexus. I want to thank Arcus for donating us these competent developers who are really the foot soldiers of our movement. So thank you so much, and looking forward to seeing the demo, but also for the sort of unveiling it more broadly at scale. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Well, there have been a lot of favorite moments today, but this one's usually my favorite here. Member voices, lots of new faces on. Would love for you to raise your virtual hand. Great, love Mark's enthusiasm. Mark, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey guys, Mark Vega here. Thank you very much for the introduction. I've been following Reza for a long, long time. Love real networks, but really love this one. I'm a lawyer for 30 years in Los Angeles, intellectual properties. My focus, privacy's been important since May 1st of 2018, when all of a sudden GDPR was applicable to every single United States company that was ever selling stuff into Europe and vice versa. So I'm happy to be here. Love to see the energy in the room. It's impossible to create a volunteer organization to make something good, and you are doing the impossible. You're all doing it. So I just got an invite. I'm really glad to be here, and we'll keep an eye open, register for scale. I can't wait to hear more. So much work to be done. Imagine if you all are the cause, among other things, of creating a pie that safeguards every person's digital footprint and privacy concerns. Imagine that flowed out of this organization. Imagine that. All right, that's enough for me. Thank you very much, Matt. Love the introduction. Thank you for letting me share a little bit and meet you all.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. We imagine that every week here at Kwaai. So come imagine that with us. And we'd love your thoughts and experience in the policy work group as well. Great. Anthony, you're up next.
All right, I'm fired up from Mark's vision there. Excitement carried over. So my name is Anthony Corrado. Reason I actually worked together back at a startup when I was a software developer about 10 years ago, sometime a decade ago. In the time since, I've been focused on building companies and products using augmented reality, specifically glasses. So Microsoft's HoloLens for many years, and now Apple's Vision Pro. I run a company called Everyday AR. We're bringing projects to life using those technologies. AI in general is something that I integrate into many of my AR projects, and actually in daily life as well. So I have a high level understanding of the technical details. My focus of AI, though, has really been the last mile, how it connects with the everyday person. So kind of like AI in the streets. That's kind of what excites me and gets me interested. In terms of AI, what my biggest fear is that it becomes the context of a product, in the sense that what's happening with social media, where the users are the product. That's my biggest fear with AI right now. So something like this, I was very curious of when Riza reached out and mentioned this to take a look. And sitting through this, I wasn't quite clear what it was going to be about, but I definitely found some interest in the work that Lynn is doing, the user stories and whatnot. To me, that's very exciting stuff. So great to be here.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you, Anthony. That was great. Love the thoughts on user experience, and I know Lynn would welcome some help there. Debbie, please, would you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Debbie, and I'm probably the one person here who is not a techie by trade. So if I were to use Lynn's list, which I was writing down, I'm a novice explorer, I'm a productive professional, a privacy conscious user. That's how I would describe myself in her list. So technically, I don't come from a technical background, but I like to think of myself as a human, sentiment analysis expert, because I'm an emotions coach. You could say I'm like a scientist when it comes to emotions. And my journey into AI came about because I have a desire to bridge the gap between technology and human emotions to humanize connection. I do believe there is a need to kind of make AI ethical. I think right now there's organized chaos. It's extremely overwhelming. And I learned about Kwaai from Matt, and I think there's something to do here. I don't know what my role will be, but I'm excited to be amongst all of you and learn.
Debbie, the organized chaos, that resonates with me. This group, I mean, it's not a top-down organization as a for-profit entity would be. I was talking to Mark about this, where you'd control the employees by virtue of controlling their payroll. People are forming work groups. There's discussions going on that's not driven top-down. There's a broad vision, but it's important for a self-actualized organic movement to move the concepts forward. So thanks so much. The organized chaos is a good. I was actually thinking when we were going to be naming this personal operating system, I was thinking of Kwaai OS and just K-OS. That would have been chaos. Thanks for making me remember that. Back to you. Back to the voices.
Can I add something too to what
Yeah.
Debbie just said? I think it's important to point out that you don't have to be a coder to be here, right? I'm not a hardcore coder. I'm a scientist by training, but I understand the language. But there's like Pinar, who's a doctor and stuff, and we need all that diversity. So we need to, because once the coders have their certain viewpoint, I have mine, Riza and Matt have theirs, but then when you get this a community, as a out of the box thinking community, is getting people like you and others in it that don't even have to have any coding background.
When Mark said everybody needs an event handler, I actually was a director of events for 4 hotels, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, so I do fit in here.
Of course you do.
We're not talking about events, and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't even say a word because they are planning events, and I want out of that world. That's why I did emotions, because it traumatized me. I'm like, this is a rabbit hole, Debbie. Just stay, keep your mouth shut. I go, I don't think they're talking about events. So, but whatever.
But the thing is, your traits are going to easily be able outside of the events. We won't traumatize you. Hopefully, Riza, you won't traumatize her again, right?
I mean, at least words resonate for me.
Right,
so
but that's the thing. Your ideas of like emotions and things that's another maybe subgroup reason, Matt. How do emotions come into AI, and how do you play into that? We haven't discussed that at all, right? The personal system. What if someone gets too attached to the AI?
The closest we have there is an AI philosophy channel right now, but let's get something going. I love that.
Matt, keep us on track.
Thank you guys, and thank you, Matt, for
it will be the third dimension of AI.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we have one more introduction here, and I'm sorry, I don't have two more introductions. I don't have the name here. Businessman, athlete, Marine. Hello.
Oh, sorry. No, my full name is Paul Anthony Claxton. Yeah, so thank you for having me here today. So I'll give some background on myself. Obviously, I was a Marine for 10 years. I'm still very entrenched in the DoD community. Today, I'm an AI venture capitalist and serial entrepreneur for over 7 years now. And a lot of the companies that we invest in are not just AI, what I would call like AI bells and whistles companies, but they're AI substance companies, meaning that they need to be delivering a substantial, impact that changes the way that we live, the way that we consume, do business for a better purpose, for a better cause, for at least the next 10 to 15 years, right? And so because of that, I am truly very interested in AI, policy for AI, because I believe that that's what's really going to drive impact within the AI ecosystem. So a lot of the companies that we would look at would have a dual tech focus, private and public sector. Like I said, I'm still very interested in that DoD sector. Our fund is based out of Southern California, where I'm at right now. So that's on the professional side. On the extracurricular side, I do a lot of blogging for one of the largest innovation platforms in the world, IdeaScale. I'm also, I do some work within the AI community for AI Accelerator Institute, and I have a couple of podcasts, one on explainable AI and another podcast called Capital Unscripted, more kind of on, operations, scaling companies, investing, that type of stuff. So really nice to be here. I look forward to getting to know everyone. If you want to connect with me, just go to my CV site. It's paulclaxton.io, and I'll put that in the chat. Again, thank you for having me, and nice to be here.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Really appreciate that introduction. And Cyrus, please.
Yes, hello. Apologies, I'm going to stay off camera here, but Cyrus Christensen, I'm an attorney at Real Networks. I worked with Riza for many years, and he invited me to come hear what you were into. And I'll say that I'm possibly the most ignorant person on this call on these issues, but I'm really interested in what you're doing, and looking forward to trying to wrap my mind around the technical parameters of the project.
Cyrus, thanks so much for joining, and it was lovely spending time just talking with you, and would love to have your participation in the movement.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you all. That was the last hand raise, and the list is getting a little unmanageable for me to make sure that we've captured everyone that hasn't spoke. Has anyone not introduced himself before that we've missed? Please raise your hand. Norman, have we heard from you?
Yes, this is Norman here. I actually introduced myself last time, but I'm a product management and data science leader. I've helped companies kind of align their data science and product initiatives. So just kind of getting involved in Kwaai here, and look forward to contributing in whatever way I can. I think the conference is going to be great, so I plan to be there in person and meet up with some of you in real life.
Awesome. That's what this is about, ironically, is getting people together. Josh.
Yeah, oops. Yeah, okay. Sorry. Wanted to make sure I wasn't muted. I've introduced myself before, but I was thinking that would it be worth it to have like 2 introductions to AI, one which is kind of non-technical and kind of a broad overview, and we could do that maybe in LinkedIn Live or here, and then a more technical one, which is kind of like hands-on coding type stuff.
Yeah, I think both are necessary. You know, when Carsten did the webinar and we did it on LinkedIn Live, we got a lot of response from that. So we should get a heartbeat of maybe one of those webinars a week. And I think that would be fantastic. And let's you know, start a list of ideas of what people want to talk about. Yes, Josh, I think there's an appetite for both the non-technical and the deeply technical analysis of presentation of what AI is.
Okay, yeah, I can work on the non-technical one for like late next week, and then maybe a more technical one might take a little bit longer to prepare.
Hey, Josh, you know, we do need lightning. We didn't do lightning talks today, full agenda, but we do need lightning talk volunteers. So if you'd like to spend some time and share with us on one of these meetings next week, folks that have done lightning talks, Balaji, I'm going to be coming and hitting you up for one of those public Kwaai webinars. And then another thing we're also considering is rebroadcasting this Google Meet on LinkedIn Live as well, in order to get some folks to join the conversation.
Fantastic idea, Matt.
All credit to Riza, Joey there. Toby, yeah, you got your hand up. Why don't you round us out today?
Hey everyone, I just wanted to say thank you once again for all the new people joining. We really appreciate you, and it warms my heart literally to see so many people volunteering to do something good. So thank you. And I'd like to make an ask of the group today. My daughter, Ella Mae Morning, is selling Girl Scout cookies. And I would appreciate you clicking on her digital storefront that I put in the chat and buying a $6 box of cookies. I really appreciate everyone. And my daughter would super appreciate you guys supporting her entrepreneurial efforts, and the Girl Scouts, of course, because they do lots for little girls. I was surprised, to be honest. I'm converted. I'm now a Girl Scout.
When I buy Girl Scout cookies, is that a charitable donation?
It is a charitable donation.
I love it, Toby. Thank you. The water cooler effect of the office here is alive and well, and really appreciate you dropping that link in there. And
thank you guys,
and getting us going. Riza, why don't you take us out?
Okay, let's do the dismount. Thank you all so much. Lovely Kwaai Day. I'm inspired by the contribution, the organic growth of the organization. Look, our goal is to be at 1,000 members by the end of the year. I don't know what the organization is going to look like at that scale, but I know it's going to. I think what Mr. Claxton said was that I think we are going to make a cultural difference. We're going to make an impact. And what Mark said, just imagine. I want you to imagine being part of something that is culturally significant. I think that's worth spending your time on. And thank you so much for turning up every week. Tell your friends, evangelize. You know, practical things you can do is post on LinkedIn that your experience, and just have a conversation with a few people, direct message them, and get them to come and join. Thanks so much.
Invite them to the summit. Come to the summit.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, you don't have to be a developer to join the hackathon. Please feel free. Bring your ideas. Bring your energy. Just come share. It's every Friday right after this call, and we welcome everybody. You don't have to be a developer. All right. Much love, everybody. Have a great weekend.
And thank you, Ruth. Ruth, very well pointed out. Happy New Year to the Dragons. Chinese New Year today. Happy New Year to the Dragons.
Thank you. I am a dragon, so I appreciate that, Ruth. And every other dragon, big ups.
All right, y'all. Happy Kwaai Day. See you next week.
Happy Kwaai Day.
Thank you all, guys. Thank you all. Thank you all. Take care.